In the last section, we put together our multi-step Docker file. We're now ready to test it out at our terminal. So I'm going to flip on over to my terminal. I'm going to make sure that I'm still inside my front end directory, and then we're going to build that image by running docker build dot. Notice how we don't have to use the -f flag on here like we were doing throughout this section so far. We were only using the -f flag to force Docker to make use of a Docker file with a file name that was not following the convention. So now that we have a file name that follows the convention of simply Docker file, we can do simply docker build dot. All right, so I'm going to run that. And then very quickly, this whole thing is going to be put together. So we're going through the npm run build process right now. That's going to take just a second or so. And then you'll notice that we get this second step going on. So from Nginx right there, we pull down that image for Nginx, and then we copy over everything from the builder process. And then the end result is the ID for the image that we just put together. So let's now try starting this thing up and see how we're doing. I'm going to copy the ID and I'll execute docker run. And don't forget, we do have to open up our ports here because Nginx is a web server. It wants to serve up traffic. So I'll say -p. We're going to route traffic on this thing to 8080. And the source port inside the container is going to be the default port that Nginx uses, which is 80. So we're going to map up 8080 on our machine to 80 inside the container. And then we'll paste the ID of the image that was just created. So I'll run that, and we're not going to actually see any output here, which is totally fine. By default, Nginx doesn't really have a whole lot to say until you start making some requests to it. But I should be able to open up my browser, navigate to localhost :8080, and see the Welcome to React application up here on the screen. Perfect. So that's pretty much it. We've now got a Docker file that can be used to build our application and then serve the application from an Nginx server, which is 110% production appropriate. Nginx is really made for production workloads. So this is a pretty solid setup. Let's take a quick break right here. We'll continue the next section and start thinking about how we're going to take all the work that we've done and start deploying it to the outside world. So quick break, and I'll see you in just a minute.